Hello, everybody. We're back again today here with AYBL Maine, formerly known as Massey's Maine Entertainment now. Brian, good friend. Doc, another great friend. We've done, 30 movie things together through the last year, and we were itching to get back into movies. We had a little sidetrack here with some music videos, which we're always glad to do. But Brian came up with this phenomenal idea about a week or two ago and said, why don't we recast The Godfather? And we were like a sucker on the end of the line. We said, sure, why not? Then we get into it. We have no clue what we're doing, but we're winging it tonight. We're starting out with the best movie of all time, in my opinion. I think these guys would back me up on that. 1972, Francis Ford Coppola's masterpiece, The Godfather. What we've done is pick out the 10 main characters of the film, and we're going to recast them using today's actors. We're going back, 50 years for the film, but who today, if it were made for the first time, who would we as casting directors pick to play these roles? So that's what we're going to do. We're going to take the characters on one at a time, go around the board, Doc, Brian, and myself in that order, and just put it out there and see what our audience thinks of us as casting directors and movie fans. I mean, everybody's opinion's as valid as the next. There's no right or wrong answer here. This is just for fun. All us movie geeks, we think along the same lines a lot of times about what if and how would we play that. Well, here's our chance to do it. So Brian, Doc, great idea. Great to be back doing movie stuff again.
Thank you.
Sure is.
Yeah, it's great. So
and way to make it my idea so you could throw me under the bus if the fans just really start going after us.
If it doesn't really pan out, well, it'll never see the light of day. How's that? But anyway, that was Brian's idea. I want to give him full credit, even though it's on my channel. We just figure right now with his schedule, it'd be easier to run it on my channel and put it out there for people. And that's where we're at. So we're going to go in reverse order of what we think are the most important characters. Just briefly, I want to throw them out there so everybody knows where we're going. We're going to go Tessio, Clemenza, Carlo, Connie, Kay, Tom Hagen, Fredo, Sonny, Michael, and Vito. That's the order we're going in. Doc, I hate to say, put you up front and use you as our bait here, but let's do it, man. What do you got for Tessio? Let me just introduce Tessio for those out there that don't know.
Sure, that'd be good.
Yeah.
It's one of Vito's main enforcers, lieutenants in the family business, of course, mafia. He's like kind of a henchman. He sets up meetings, provider of information. If he hears some things going on with the other families, he'll get back to Vito and Tom Hagen, and they'll come up with some kind of plan to counteract it or whatever. So he's sort of one of his most important guys. He grew up with Vito in Little Italy, along with Clemenza, the three of them. In Godfather 2, in the flashbacks, you see them as younger guys. And
That's right.
Of course, here we go as The Godfather starts. Abe Vigoda is the character or the actor that actually played Tessio in the original film. And what I tried to do was make him as close in age as Tessio, but that's not a prerequisite here. We're just going to get the feel of the character, what he brings to the film in either body language or his persona or characteristics, whatever you want to do. It's up to the three of us to determine what actor today would be the best at playing Tessio. So Doc, I'm sorry to ramble on like that, but
That's fine.
It's your call, man. What do you got for Tessio?
So it's a great synopsis here of what we're talking about here too, Rich. So yeah, this was a huge undertaking, and that's all personal choices. It's The Godfather. Some are going to fit, some aren't going to fit. I think going into this, and we'll just see how it goes. But
Yep.
I'm just going to start out, man. I had Steve Buscemi playing Tessio. That's who I had.
Ooh, okay.
Tell us why. What would he bring in your eyes?
Oh, I think he's listen. Yeah, he can play any kind of character. Buscemi's a fantastic actor, man. So, and you can see that a whole bunch of different things he's done in his career, from Fargo through. He can be serious. He can be comedic. He can do everything. So, does he have this side to him? Reservoir Dogs and stuff like this. There's a whole bunch of things you can pull from Buscemi's past. That there are certain qualities for sure that he's a trustworthy kind of guy, but he could be a snake too. And I think that's something
right.
that,
That's the key. That's the key. Right
that's
there.
kind of like one of the qualities that kind of like, that Reservoir Dogs really brought me back to that in the one sense that, I don't know exactly if he's telling the truth or not telling the truth half the time, sometimes anyway. So even physically, that thin, lanky kind of looking fella too, to go with it outside of everything else that goes with it. I got Buscemi coming in there as my Tessio, buddy. That's where I'm going.
I like it. I like the fact that we know that Tessio in the original film actually is the one that betrays the family in the end when he goes to the other family and sets up, something. So, and Buscemi has that Weasley quality. There's no question about it. So,
yeah,
good call.
Absolutely.
What
I think
about
a few
you,
of them
Ryan?
have to have that quality in this category. We go through things, so, but yeah.
How about Brian? What do you have?
Yeah, I mean, Tessio, I mean, I kind of wrote down a few notes when I was looking at the, overall, and I put down that he was definitely, he's an eventual traitor to the family. Some of the mannerisms that I kind of looked at a little bit was obviously he had this very glaring look all the time, like he was always sizing people up, which was kind of his job within the family. He also seemed like a very insecure type of character as well. Like he wasn't happy with his position within the family, so he always was trying to overdo it a little bit, I think, to prove his worth. So I went with, when the character kind of came to mind for me was John Turturro. John Turturro, I like some of his stuff and Do the Right Thing. I like him in Miller's Crossing. Fantastic. I think that Miller's Crossing thing was really the one for me where it's like, yeah, he's that Weasley little guy that, is always begging for your life one second, right? And then you're on top of the world trying to put a gun to the back of your head as soon as you turn your back again, right? So and then in Rounders, he was tremendous in Rounders. He's had other roles too that definitely just don't fit the motif of what we're doing here. But that was the qualities that I saw in John Turturro that I thought that he would be a good fit for the film.
Good one.
Yeah, that's a good one too. I actually had him in my finalists. I actually wrote 5 names down for this character. I shouldn't give him away, but the one I ended up choosing for this role is Benicio del Toro. I just think that I've seen him in films like The Usual Suspects and Traffic, where he's sort of an informant at one point, working with, he could be loyal to the side that he's working with at the time, but still has the ability to turn on a dime. So I think he could play it. He's sort of an imposing figure as well. I think he could carry out his duties as Tessio, enforcer wise. He's got a little, I know he's Spanish, but he could still pull off the Italian look if he wanted to.
Yeah. Also in Sicario.
Sicario is another class.
Sicario is another great one for that type of character motif.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's the guy I chose. So I think we picked 3 good actors here. All of them are capable of playing the role. Just for the heck of it, some of my runners up, I had Michael Shannon as a possible guy too.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
And Viggo Mortensen, I looked at him as well, but I settled on Benicio for just based on the roles that I've seen him in. So.
Yeah, I've had a lot of respect for Michael Shannon's recent work. That's a good call there.
And he's very versatile. He can do it.
Yeah.
Oh, Michael Shannon's a really good call.
General Zod.
But I mean, I like your
I
pick.
remember.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I didn't pick him in the long run. It was Benicio del Toro. The next role is Clemenza. This is another one of those lieutenants, a confidant, hitman. He's loyal to the Don, Vito Corleone. He moonlights as a chef at the house there. You can see him making the sauce with the meatballs and the sausage and this and that. So he's like a family guy deep down, but he has this side of him where he can go out and do the dirty work to earn some big bucks on the side. So originally played by Richard Castellano, who was this heavyset Italian-looking individual. You know, when he has that scene where you got grab the cannoli and all that stuff after they whack Paulie there in the car along the Meadowlands. So this is an interesting character. I found this one to be tough to do too. So Doc, who did you have in mind for Mr. Clemenza?
Yeah, this was, to be honest with you, this might have been the toughest one for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seriously. And it was hard to pick for like certain reasons, like you just rang off the character here, right? So all these different kind of qualities. You know, physically he was like, you know, a heavier set fella and everything else that goes with it. So do I base it on something along those lines, or do I base it along how the character goes, or do I get a mix or as much of a mix as I can?
Yeah.
So it just, the way it came out in the wash for me, I went with Jonah Hill, actually,
Okay.
as my pick. He is, obviously he had that physical side, not anymore. He's changed his way of life and stuff like that. But at one point he was that kind of character. But
Yeah.
he does have those qualities too, that I think more as a group of movies for him, not individual movies, of what kind of character he is as Clemenza kind of thing. Like he can be, like you said, he's the guy in the corner. He's the secondary or third guy in a lot of movies. He's not the lead in a lot of things. So he's a background kind of guy. He fits in that mold. But you've seen him be a snake and stuff like that. And, you know, war dogs and different things, and maybe not like to that extent, but, you know, there's different things that he can do that show that I think, you know, we'll take the accents aside for how these guys might portray things and stuff like that, I think, as far as a movie goes. But I'm going to assume they can all pull off an Italian accent when it comes out in the wash. And I'm going to say Jonah would be, gets a little powder on there, man. He's going to be the Italian guy I'm going to go with. And it'll be Johan. That's who it'll be, man, when it comes out in the wash. So.
Yeah, so Jonah's an underrated actor because he's great in
very underrated.
The Wolf of Wall Street. He's awesome in
Wall
that
Street.
movie, and Moneyball and so forth.
Yeah,
Like I said, a lot of secondary kind of roles, but
Yeah.
kind of where I saw this character at.
Okay, what about you, Brian? What do you have here?
Obviously, Clemenza, Lieutenant. I think maybe a little. He would probably be more more respected, I think, than Tessio by at least like the soldiers within the family, because he's more of a get your hands dirty kind of guy. Hardworking, loyal, kind of very, very, very old school. So I was kind of thinking in terms of that. I had a couple names bounced around here, and I narrowed it down to two. And then ultimately, a few days ago, I decided on Paul Giamatti to take the role. I thought he would be good. He's tremendous in Sideways. I liked him in Cinderella Man and Man on the Moon. I think that he's a seasoned enough guy that he could pull off a role like this. I think that he's the type of guy that we could get him to flip a switch and be that kind of guy that Clemenza is. So
your pick is way better than mine.
I like that pick. I have like actually five guys down. I don't know what to do still. I'm doing this as we speak.
My backup was Danny DeVito, and the only reason I went against it is because Danny tends to steal every scene he's in.
Yeah.
And Clemenza to me was more of a superfluous character in a lot of
background
scenes.
kind of guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The guy I like best for this role, I think he's too old to play it now, is Paul Sorvino. I can see him in that role. I know he was in Goodfellas and he was, a big figure in that, but I think he could play Clemenza. Some of my, and that's who I ultimately will pick. Some of my backups were Ray Liotta, Alec Baldwin. Alec Baldwin could do it too, and John Goodman. I think John Goodman in a serious role could do it.
Yeah.
I had Ray Liotta down.
Yeah. He was the guy I waffled on. But because he was in Goodfellas and, another mob movie, I chose Paul Sorvino. He was in Goodfellas too. But anyway, I see Paul Sorvino with that apron on, making the meatballs, and yet has the ability to take that car ride, have the guy whacked, grab the cannolis.
Get the cannolis.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, that's where I went.
Yeah. That's absolutely. I mean, you start rattling off some of those names, all those guys could do it. They could do it.
Alec Baldwin would be good at it too, because it's a role that you don't see him in that often. But
yeah, and Goodman. Now Goodman, I mean, he was scary in that Cloverfield Lane movie.
Yeah.
He can play a scary dude. He's got the
Yeah.
intensity, that look in his eye where you're just like, eesh.
He was scary in Barton Fink too, that Coen Brothers movie he was in too.
Yeah.
That's
So-
great.
All
Absolutely.
right, so we got the two henchmen out of the way. Now we're gonna go to Carlo, who marries Connie at the beginning scene here of The Godfather. Connie, of course, being Vito's only daughter. Carlo is, a physically abusive person. He beats his wife. He's a mafia wannabe. He thinks he's going to rise through the ranks and be somebody, and they give him little tidbit jobs here and there. Played by Gianni Russo in the film, kind of a pretty boy actor who never really made it other than The Godfather. I can't name you one movie that Gianni Russo was in, but that's just me. Anyway, Carlo. I'd be interested to see what you guys have here for this. Doc, what are you presenting to us?
This, we talk about different things and characters and stuff like that. I had to think about somebody who's really good at kicking in glass when they're getting choked from behind. That's what I was trying to think about when I was like, who's going to be really good at doing that when I picked this character. So,
and somebody that realistically could beat the shit out of his wife, and
it can be a real.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, I don't know where this pick goes here, so I'll say that whatever the case. But I'm just picking who it is. So, if it was 20 years ago, I would have Paul Reiser. I'll just say that right off the bat, man. He was a real weasel in Aliens, and that would have fit perfect for this character, man. So, but I'm going Casey Affleck for this.
I like that. I like it.
He does have that weaselly side to him, man, where he can be like, this is the mob movie, man. There's a lot of snakes involved here and stuff. And he's got some of these qualities too. You see, he's a good actor, man. I like different parts of his characters, like, for Manchester or, but it all depends which one to pull from, I don't care where I'm pulling from for him in some senses, but he has all the qualities that kind of make up. Yeah, I can still stab you in the back kind of quality kind of guy too. So he's a pretty good actor, man. So,
and somebody that can
he
cry.
fits the bill pretty good. Pardon me?
Somebody that can cry when he finally is confronted with Michael in that end.
Yeah,
he's sort of trying to beg for his life situation.
Totally. He'd crumble in a heartbeat, before he actually got in the car, but you get the idea.
Yeah.
So I went with Casey on this one.
I like Casey. That's good.
Yeah, I think the qualities that I see in a lot of Casey's acting and some of the criticism that he takes is a lot of people think his character, he's usually too reserved. But I think that this is the one where you would need a guy who would play everything very close to the chest.
Yeah.
So this would be perfect for Casey, I think. Yeah.
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 Cool. Who's your Carlo, Brian?
For Carlo here, obviously, I had him down as kind of like you said, a wannabe, very ambitious, squirrely, wife beating, freak of nature that he is. I got Bobby Cannavale. Cannavale, I think is how you pronounce his name.
Yeah.
For people who don't know who he is, I mean, he was in the movie The Irishman and I, Tonya. Probably most famous for the younger crowd out there as he plays the stepfather to the young girl in Ant-Man for Paul Rudd's character opposite. I just think that he kind of fits the bill a little bit. He's a big and physically imposing kind of guy himself, but at the same time, he has that very sentimental side to him. He has these facial expressions where he looks very endearing and could pull off this character. His Carlo character is kind of an interesting character because it's all along it's like really kind of his action kind of is driving this film to where it sets up Michael being the Godfather, if you think about it. So it's an important character. I think he could pull this off.
Very good. Yeah, I had a number of guys listed here. I'm just going to read them off, and you can you can say, maybe, whatever. I had Johnny Depp as a possibility originally, Sam Rockwell, Christian Bale, Adam Driver, and for a while I was leaning towards Paul Dano, but at the last minute I changed. I'm going with James Franco. I think James Franco can do this. He's got the good looks, somebody that Connie would be attracted to, somebody that is a kind of a wannabe. I see him playing a lot of creeps in movies sometimes, and trying to get by on the physical nature of his looks. And when it comes down to it, he's a snake underneath. I can see Sonny cracking him with some trash cans down that just, the trash can lids like he does and takes that beating. So I'm going to go with James Franco, and I can see him at the end, the last scene that he's alive, where he's begging for his life, and Michael, no, it's not what you think, all that kind of stuff. So that's where I'm going, James Franco.
Yeah, it all comes down to that like 5-minute scene. Who you put here, they have to be able to do this scene.
And I like how
Pretty
Michael
much
sets him up too, where he says, I'm not going to kill, my wife's husband. I'm going to send you out to Vegas and you can do this. And
right.
Next thing you know, the wire's coming at him and kicking the windshield out or whatever. Great stuff.
Really, what he's basically saying is he didn't want to get blood all over the floor for his sister to see. I mean, that's really what it kind of came down to. Got to get him outside of the place. That's, yeah.
And again, wasn't that Clemenza that pulled the wire on him? He's in the back seat waiting on him.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
So my man Paul Sorvino, man, he's got that in him. I like it.
Put down that ladle there, Paul.
Sharpen that wire. Come on. Make it hurt.
Oh, yeah.
All right. We're advocating violence, only in theory. Next, we're going to get into the ladies of the cast here. We're going to start with Connie, who is Vito's daughter, like we mentioned. She gets married in the beginning of the film and puts up with all this physical abuse, and she's throwing plates, and she's calling her brother Sonny when things get a little too hectic, and he has to intervene in the marriage. And but this is a character that I see as somebody who always has her family to bail her out. She can go on these splurges and leave her kids with them and go out after she's, a widow again or whatever. She sponges off her family. She lives there for free. She's kind of a money grubber later on, that type of character. Of course, played by Talia Shire, who was Francis Ford Coppola's real life sister. And she does a great job in the movie. Fantastic. And she also plays, of course, Rocky's female sidekick, Adrian, in the Rocky film. So she's a good actress. I'm interested to see what you guys have here, because I actually casted the women first, to be honest with you, before I got into the guys. I thought it was easier to do, but I don't know how you guys feel about that. What do you have for Connie, Doc?
Initially I thought, okay, that's where I kind of went. I had a couple in mind, some names are going to come up later on that I thought I had good spots for some actors I thought would fit good. And I thought, okay, I'll knock off the women characters. And then when I really started to think about the characters, I started questioning myself, do I have the right bloody person here for these characters now? So I'm going to go with who I got down here anyway, and just go with it. So I got Emily Blunt for Connie.
Okay.
Yeah, there's that the Jaime side and everything else, that character part of her too, but she's still pretty vulnerable and everything too.
Yeah.
She does do it through the physical side of her relationship with Carlo as well. So somebody that can play both sides of that, I think has to be a pretty strong actress, no matter which way I cut it. So I had down another name that I was really leaning towards. I changed it this afternoon, but took out my Canadian girl here and I put in Emily because I just think that's somebody that actually can play both sides. They can play both sides, like you said, the family side of things and the other side of things. And she's always complaining to her family about how abusive her husband is and stuff like that. But she still himes off her family and everything else on the other side of it too. So there's a tug and pull with that kind of character. And I think Emily Blunt is really solid actress, man. Somebody that I think can pull off something like that. In one sense, pretty nicely, I think. So that's why I went with her.
Yeah, I was considering her too. I like Emily Blunt.
Oh, cool.
I'll tell you why I like your pick. I look at the long game of this whole story, and Connie's character almost becomes a matriarchal figure that's very strong in Godfather 3. Now, Godfather 3 is just whatever that is, but she was a strong character in 3, and she was highly manipulative and stronger than she was in those first two films. So that's a good pick because Emily Blunt, definitely is a strong woman. I mean, she's very, very powerful. That's a good pick.
Thank you.
Yep. Excellent. All right, Brian, who's your Connie?
I like Doc so much now. I don't know. I saw Connie as sassy and spoiled. I wrote down that she eventually was highly manipulative and powerful in her own right.
Yep.
I had a recast. I had Kate Mara. Kate Mara was she played the journalist in House of Cards. She was in Brokeback Mountain and also The Martian, were some of her more acclaimed roles. I thought that physically she had the kind of the stature that Connie had, where it would definitely look like that Carlo next to her would be more of a superior physical specimen to where she could be a victim. But I've also seen Kate's acting and when she needed to be intense, and I think that would have carried her through the 3 stories if she had to play Connie for 3 stories. I thought that would be able to do it. So I think I also read maybe in really quickly passing that she was distantly related to Talia Shire. So that's kind of interesting.
Oh, no, neat.
Yeah. So I didn't know that when I did that. I just started reading up on her biography, and yeah, it's some type of distant relative of Talia. So
cool.
That's very interesting because I have her sister Rooney Mara as my pick.
Wow. There we go.
Rooney Mara, who played in, of course, the Hidden Dragon movie. What was it called?
Yeah, the
Dragon
Girl
Tattoo.
With the Dragon Tattoo.
Yeah,
The Dragon Tattoo.
Yeah,
very good movie.
And I think that she's got the chops to play this role. I really do. The actress that I really wanted, but she's too old to play it now. I think she would fit in perfectly, but that would be 20 years ago, and that's Marissa Tomei. But I think she's a little bit too old to play that role now, and so I went with a younger actress, being that she's getting married in the beginning of the film. So I went with Rooney Mara. Marissa Tomei was born to play that role. She could do it. She could be beat up on and then still manipulative, pull them strings later on down the road. So another one that I looked at was Carrie Mulligan, a young actress who's very talented, and Rachel Weisz. I like all of those girls, but I went with Rooney. A tough one. It's interesting that we had sisters playing the same role.
Yeah, that's weird.
Very interesting. Right now I would vote for Doc's pick if I had to vote for
Emily Blunt. Yeah,
I like Doc's pick a lot on that one.
Thanks, man.
very good. All right, now we're on to Kay, of course. Kay is beginning of the film is Michael's significant other. They're dating. Eventually they become husband and wife after Michael's trip to Italy, which ends explosively, so to speak. Kay starts out very naive as to how deeply Michael's involved in this family business. And she, she believes everything he says. We're going to be out in this amount of time, and then give me a year, Kay, and I'm done with it, and this and that. And eventually gets pulled in really, really deep, and they have their own topsy-turvy relationship. She's played by Diane Keaton, a young Diane Keaton at the time in 72, who was excellent in the role. So we'll see how you guys see Kay here in our recast. What do you think, Doc?
Well, that is another tough one. I had 3 names written down for here too. So I thought I had it down. Actually, I had 2 in my mind when I first did this, and I didn't go with either one of them in the end.
Sounds like
I actually went with Michelle. I went with Michelle Williams.
that's a good
actually.
pick.
It's a good pick.
Good pick. 'Cause I have her written down too. Not as my main pick, but she was my backup. Good pick.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, like this is another one of those characters. Yeah, she believes everything that Michael's telling her. Like you said, and stuff like that. I mean, she gets fished in, but deep down somewhere in there, she knows that she's not getting the full truth either. So, and
Yeah.
just knowing that part of the story, that she just goes with it to the point that she knows that that's the life she's in, and she's got to live it, and that's where it's at right now, especially at that stage with Michael, especially in Godfather 1, right? The growth of Michael is incredible in that movie, and she's there with him, starting off all one way and then getting it going another way as it comes along, right? Just for the scenes that she's in. So Michelle Williams is somebody that can actually pull that off quite easily, being I think it's almost like a perfect character for her. I think it's almost perfect casting for her in the ones that she can almost look the part, because she can always look older than she always is too. And she's only 40 right now. So
yeah,
she's definitely somebody. And Diane Keaton looked like she was, 25, but she looked like she was 40 in the movie. So it's, I think physically it's a good match, but I definitely think on the acting side, it was, I'm happy I went with it in the end, and I changed my picks.
Yeah, that's good casting.
Yeah, that is.
She was in my bottom 3 or final 3, and I went in a different direction, but I could easily have taken her. It's a good one.
Thanks.
Yeah, she's also in my last 3 that I had it narrowed down to. I had
Interesting.
yeah, of course, because Kay is a loving person, very naive, but very forgiving. She has the motherly instincts that she's going to do whatever's best for her children, no matter what Michael's actually doing, but she's always kind of hoping for the best, that Michael's actually going to turn that corner and keep his promise to get out of that business. So I did have Michelle Williams, and then I had Rhoda Mitchell as well. I thought the same type of mannerisms as Michelle Williams. She's not been in as many films, but I liked her in some of the stuff that I've seen. But I ultimately settled on, and it was mostly for the eyes and the ability to communicate with your eyes. I picked Felicity Jones. She was in the movie Theory of Everything, and she was also in the Star Wars movie Rogue One. I think she acts so much with her eyes, and she has this sweet, kind, naive look about her all the time, and no matter how she's acting, that I figured, wow, this might be the perfect, you do her hair up right, and I'm like, this might be the perfect Kay. So that's what I went with. I went Felicity Jones.
Good call.
Thanks.
I like it. The one I went with could be a little odd, but I just see her playing that role, and that's Elizabeth Moss.
Oh yeah, okay.
Good call.
She was in Mad Men. That's where I first saw her, and then she's done movies. In Mad Men, she has the range to start out as this timid secretary or whatever she's doing, and then she works her way through the company and becomes one of the bigwigs eventually. So she's got that in her, and she's done The Invisible Man and things like that. I believe that where she shows the other side of her skills.
Handmaid's Tale.
Handmaid's Tale.
Fantastic. Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah. That's a great illustration of her acting right there. She carries that series. But that's who I'm picking as Kay. I can see her actually married to the guy I have playing Michael, which we'll get to a bit later. I think they look like they could be a couple.
Yeah, I factored that in too when I picked mine. I'm like, yeah, can they do it? Okay, yeah.
And that's the way I did my Carlo and Connie too. I had who did I have as Carlo? James Franco and Connie Rooney Mara. I can see them together too.
Yeah.
So I factored that in as important when I was trying to pair these together. So
good pick too.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right, so that's the first 5 characters. Now we're into the main heavyweight actor, the big 5, let's say.
Yeah.
We're going to
Good
start.
stuff.
This is where it gets down and dirty.
No, I'm just kidding.
We've got Tom Hagen next. Vito's consigliere, his main advisor. He's smart. He's calculating. He weighs all the options. Presents, daily report to Vito in the beginning and later Michael. He's very loyal. Originally played by Robert Duvall, of course. One of his great performances. Kind of low key. If you know Robert Duvall's filmography, this is something where he's sort of in a suit and tie, and he's playing a businessman, so to speak. But interesting character. I had like 10 guys down here, and I still don't know who I'm taking. I'm going to wait and see what you guys have. So what do you have for us, Doc and Tom?
What do you got, Doc?
No, thanks, guys. Yeah, that's awesome.
We're feeding you to the fishes, man. We're feeding you to the fishes. Here we go.
Yeah, I get the guy that's going to replace Robert Duvall here as Tom. This is great. So yeah. But I think I came up with somebody here that I think can pull it off and actually fit and do it. So I don't know. I'm just going with it, man. My pick is Ryan Gosling.
My God, good one.
I think he's got the demeanor for it. Tom is, family, but not family, but family in The Godfather. And this is somebody that can actually, I think, blend in. I think there's that methodical side of, you think of the movie Drive or something like that, even with Gosling. He was a killer and everything else in the movie, but he's very methodical and very thought-provoking kind of character too, in the one sense. He was very analytical about how he did things. And it's exactly like Tom in one sense that, think things through, Sonny, before you actually make these decisions, and he has that side to him. I can see him pulling it off. I think one of the earlier ones I wrote down, man, it's the only one I actually have one name written down for was Tom. So I got Gosling.
Yeah.
He's on my list too.
Yeah.
Is he?
I might change it now that you picked him, because I want to give the versatility. I really like that pick, though. It's a great one, because you have to be somebody who's smart and reserved and look way back. I mean, you don't realize it, but he's the one pulling the strings with that horse head in the bed and in the
whole 9 yards. Get the
he goes out there and meets with the guy, gets insulted and this and that, and then the next thing you know, there's a bed full of blood and a horse in it. So
that's right.
All right, cool. Brian, what do you have for us?
Oh, let's see. Tom. Well, Tom was kind of an interesting character. I didn't like how they just basically wrote off his narrative altogether.
I didn't either.
Later on, but he is smart, loyal, confident. So my biggest factor was, okay, who can I cast that's a type of person that can say no to power? Because Tom is that guy, right? So Tom's the guy that's willing to say no to the Godfather, no to Sonny, no to Michael, that there's not a good idea. Not many people have the courage to do that and not be a physically imposing person themselves. So that's what I was kind of looking for here. I picked Joseph Gordon-Levitt to do that. Some of the roles he's known for is, obviously as a kid, he was in Third Rock from the Sun. He's in one of Rich's favorite movies, Looper. And he's also in Snowden, though, and Snowden kind of did it for me, where I'm thinking, Snowden. This guy's got some acting chops, and he's he can play that highly intelligent guy. I just thought he would be a really good fit here for Tom.
Yeah, I like that pick. I like a lot of guys playing Tom. The one I settled on is another one of these guys that's usually the smartest person in the room, even though his characters aren't exactly on the up and up a lot of times, and that's Edward Norton. I have him playing this role because I think he could pull it off. He could hold a lot in and present his case, and I just think he's the right age right now to do it too, which is a factor. Whether it be a lot of times early in his career he's playing in Primal Fear, he's playing young people and Rounders again. He plays that smart ass kid. He's smart as hell. He's just misguided and misdirected in where he wants to go in his life. But I think Ed Norton has acting range. You can see it in a thing like American History X, a really heavy role.
He was really good in Birdman.
Birdman.
I thought it was
Excellent.
great.
So it's cool. We have 3 different guys here, and all of them are really
All of them
good.
are good choices. All of them are excellent choices.
Yeah, Ryan Gosling was
Yeah.
on my list, as well as Mark Ruffalo I had down at one point.
Yeah.
And Willem Dafoe, I think, could do it, you know, at a point. He's got the range to do it. You don't see him in that role, but he's that good of he's a stage actor too, so I know he could do it. So
William Dafoe could do anything.
he can do anything.
Yeah.
And Stanley Tucci was another older guy I had doing it too. He's a guy that can sort of be a smart guy, and he's that way in Road to Perdition. He plays that guy they go to see in Chicago, where he's, you know, a lawyer or whatever he's doing. He's the
Another name. I mean, I had down. I don't know why I like his films. I don't know why it didn't set well with me. As far as, I don't think that he projects as well as Joseph does, and that was Jude Law.
Yeah,
he's a good actor, but he doesn't project as well, I don't think.
Yeah, that's a good name though. He is a good actor.
It is a good name.
Yeah.
So the bottom line is we went Ryan Gosling, Joseph Gordon-Levitt,
Mhm.
Edward Norton. Those are the 3.
All
Not
good.
bad picks, man.
all
good.
serious dudes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to change it up a bit, and we're going to go to Fredo Corleone, known to Freddie as his close friends. The middle son of Vito, frail, weak-minded to a degree, wishy-washy, Weasley. He's sensitive about being passed over in the family. He sees his younger brother Michael being handpicked, and there's obviously some resentment, which we find out in Godfather 2. Played by the late great John Cazale, who made nothing but great movies and great performances. He only made 5 films. They were all nominated for Oscars. We talked about him before in our 70s film videos. John Cazale is tough to cast because you can't picture anybody else playing that role. I mean,
Right.
he really,
It's tough.
it's tough.
Very tough.
But that's what we're here to do. What do you have for us, Doc?
Yeah, I didn't like this one, man. So
This was tough.
Yeah.
This was tough.
I had I had some names down back and forth. And out of all the characters that we go through in the movie and stuff like that, can I see this person playing this one? Man, that John Cazale character is just, I don't know, man. There's something about that, you know, who can you get to do it? You need somebody that I think is kind of special, maybe a little under the radar in one sense. It's kind of what I was thinking going in. Do like everything that the person is in, not necessarily. There's only so many John Cazales out there, right? So that's neither here nor there. I went with Giovanni Ribisi as my guy.
Okay.
You can do it.
You
Yeah.
can do it.
Yeah, I think he could. I think he could pull it off. I mean, it's not like, you know, I don't know if there's anybody that's perfect for this role, but you need somebody that maybe can pull it off. Is
Yeah.
what I'm thinking. And I think he is somebody that's got the chops to do it. He doesn't get enough maybe acting chops for what he does do when he can be a serious actor and stuff. He's definitely got the weasel side to him, or the Avatar thing or something along those lines, or whatever you want to think of. He's a pretty solid actor. I need somebody that can be, vulnerable. I need somebody that can be that thinks they're doing the right thing and they know how to play the game, and they don't really know how to play the game the right way. And I think he has some of those qualities.
I
think he can pull it off.
Yeah, that vulnerable nature of Gone in 60 Seconds as
There you
being the
go.
younger brother, and also the patheticness of, like, and I want to say pathetic, that's probably a terrible word, but definitely the dying scene for him in Saving Private Ryan, where he's calling out to his mother when they give him the extra shot of morphine. His leg starts to shake and he's calling out, "Mama, mama."
That's right.
I mean, that right there, heartbreaking stuff. I mean, that type of vulnerability would be tough to cast.
He can act, man.
Yeah, he can act. So it's good. I like it.
I like it.
Yeah, cool.
All right, Brian, showtime. What do you got?
Yeah. Okay, so what you already described everything that Fredo was, and John has only been in a handful of movies, but they all won like they all like one of the best movies of all time.
Yeah.
So it was tough. So I actually went in thinking, okay, Doc had the right idea. I went and found someone that's really a fresh face, that's only in a handful of things, that I think is going to be great going forward. As if John were going to be still alive, I would think John was only going to do great films if he lived longer. I just thought that. I picked Robin Lord Taylor. Now, for anybody who doesn't know who that is, that's the guy who plays Penguin in Gotham, the series. And if you pull up a picture of that guy, he's just, one, creepy looking, two, but he looks pathetic. I mean, he just looks like a weak, sniffling little weasel. That's what he looks like. He's also in John Wick, and he's been in a couple episodes of The Walking Dead. I mean, that's what he's known for, is being the Penguin only, really, right now. That's kind of where his acting has kind of settled. And so I wanted a fresh face there. And I said, because you're not gonna replace John, so you might as well just kind of like reboot it and restart it if you're gonna do something. So
yeah, I had a lot of trouble with this role because I kept seeing John Cazale, and nobody could play that role like John Cazale. The guy I ended up going with was Adrian Brody. I can see him with the body language, like laying in that chair like he does at the end. When,
I can see it too.
Yeah, Adrian Brody. I can see him being I hate to use bad language, but a total fuck up. He's constantly doing the wrong thing. He's out in Vegas with Mo Green doing that shtick out there with the loud yellow suit on, and hiring the hookers for Mike and his gang when they come in, and just he's over the top, and he thinks he's being cool, but he's really being an asshole. What he's doing. Right. And it's just the beginning of what we see his downfall to be eventually. There were a couple other guys that I really wanted to squeeze in this role, and I talked myself out of them. I'll see what you guys think. Ethan Hawke was a guy I looked at. Ben Foster, Ben Foster from Hell.
Ben Foster is great from 310 to Yuma.
Yeah, I like him. And Jackie Earl Haley is another guy. I kind of a Weasley kind of. I just couldn't picture him in this cast. So
I couldn't see him either. I think he's maybe a little too old even now.
Yeah.
And he has not aged well. If somebody tells me this guy's 55, he's not aged well. I'm telling you.
No way, man.
No, but my pick is Adrian Brody. That's where I'm going to go.
Adrian Brody. Yeah, that's a good pick. There's definitely some physical characteristics there that carry. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was a good one.
Very good. Thanks. Now Sonny Corleone, played by James Caan in the original film, the oldest son, the heir apparent until something changes the course of history. Hot-tempered, short fuse, ready to rumble, a wartime guy. He's ready to mix it up with the best of them. And the bottom line is he can rock the wife beater with anybody. We know that. So that white wife beater shirt is meant for James Caan.
That's the old classic.
That right there is the selling point, fellas. If they throw on that wife beater t-shirt and they don't look good, cut them.
Yep.
They're out.
I've got 5 guys that can wear that wife beater here, but I'm only going to pick one. So this should be really good casting. Let's see what we have. Doc, you're first on the line. What do you got?
Yeah. I wonder if I should just say this. Listen, I have like an obvious pick, I think, in one sense, on who I think this could be. And I would not be surprised if either one of you guys or both of you guys had this other pick. But I made him second because I went with somebody you just mentioned, and I went with Ben Foster as Sonny. And in fact, when I did the whole list, he was the first guy I wrote down on the whole thing. That night we started talking about it, I just wrote his name down on Sonny because that's the perfect guy I can see playing Sonny in my head. Yeah, he can pull off the white beater shirt, man, for sure. I'm not worried about that part. He definitely has the temperament and some of the things that you've seen before. Like you said, the Y10, hell and high water. You can see that he's got the characteristics of a Sonny to pull it off.
Yeah.
There is some genuine parts to him where he, let's face it, he's a family first guy in hell and high water too. Would do anything for his brother. I think that was a quality that I was looking for at a Sonny too, because it's family. So first guy I wrote down, man, and that was that night whenever we decided to do it, and I didn't change it the whole time. So Ben's my guy.
That's good for you. So you stick to your guns. I like it.
Yeah.
Very nice. How about you, Brian?
Yeah. Sonny, he's a bullish, hot-headed, reckless, but it all come back to like, okay, who can throw on that wife beater t-shirt, man, and look the part and be able to act the part. I picked Clive Owen.
He's on my list.
Good call.
He's on my list.
Children of Men, Closer, Inside Man, and Clive. And my wife's absolutely in love with him.
Yeah.
So I know that she'll tell me if he would not look good in that shirt. So I ran that name by her. She didn't even flinch. So that was like the selling point right there.
That was it.
That was it. We're casting.
Good call.
That's who it is. So I picked Clive. I thought he would be a good fit for this role.
Yeah, I considered him. He's actually in my top 5 here. Listen to these guys. I'm going to read off the guys that didn't make it and picture them in the wife beater. All of them can pull it off. Barry Pepper, Tom Hardy, Clive Owen.
He's my guy. He's my guy I wrote down. My other guy.
Clive Owen, Russell Crowe. And ultimately, I guess I watched The Town too many times. I went with Jeremy Renner. That's the guy I picked. I think he's got that explosive temper, the short fuse, and just I can see him in the wife beater getting ready to rumble. And I think he's a great actor. I liked him in that other movie too, where they're out in Wyoming. I can't remember the name of it, where Elizabeth Olsen's with him. And
that's the one up north there.
Wild River.
It is something.
Wind River. Yeah.
Wind River. He's great in that movie. Totally different character than he played in The Town, but still a tremendous actor.
And he's Hawkeye.
Yeah. See, I don't watch those films, so
he's Hawkeye.
I don't get to see him as Hawkeye, but like you guys do. But you know him from those films, which is cool. But that's who my pick is. So it's Jeremy Renner for me, Ben Foster for Doc, and Clive Owen for Brian. All good picks. I like them. Now we're on to Michael Corleone, the youngest son, the war hero, the college boy, the all-American type, and he gets pulled in, takes over after some things happen, which I don't want to spoil, and he gets seduced by the power. He becomes, it just overtakes him and his position. He becomes ruthless. You didn't see it coming. His arc of a character changed so much from the beginning of The Godfather to the end of The Godfather, and then it goes from Godfather 2 to 3, and it's just an amazing performance by Al Pacino. Probably the best performance I've ever seen by an actor when you take into consideration 3 movies over a span of time and how he changes. Fantastic. So this will be fun to see who we're going to put in that role, Michael Corleone. What do you got, Doc?
Yeah, this was tough, man. There's no getting around. You gotta pull you're going for Michael, and it's hey, the characteristics of Michael, like you said, like the arc is incredible, right? So, but if I take Michael for what he is at the time, the war hero, like, coming back, and he's in the family, and he's the youngest one,
Right.
but he shows all these other qualities, that we find out as you move along through The Godfather and throughout the series, you find out, what an awesome character, awesome character, though. One of the best characters probably in film ever. So, and that arc is incredible. You're right. But there's that soft side of Michael there that, he's very reserved. He's also very methodical. And he's thinking everything through, no matter what it is. And it doesn't matter who he's talking to. And nothing intimidates him. All right. So I tried to think about all those kind of characteristics when I thought about this guy. And man, did I ever go off the board here, guys. Holy cow. So Milo Ventimiglia.
Ooh.
From This Is Us is my Michael.
Wow.
You went off the board. I like it.
Yeah, I did.
I kind of did too. If that's any consolation.
Just those qualities from like that character and how he portrays things. And he did some other stuff. He's done some comedies and stuff like that before, but he has a ton of those kind of characteristics throughout that character that he plays on that show. I mean, it's not a whole bunch of things you can go with here, but Michael's really young in the movie too. And I want somebody that can actually portray that and look at and go through the whole thing. Like Brian touched on earlier, that whole arc is somebody that can carry that all the way through a series of something like this and the Godfather series. I had down somebody else, man, I thought, goes back to somebody in Disney right now on Moon Knight. That'll give it away, but I almost had him down as my guy, but I went with Milo. I just think he's got a few more of the qualities of Michael that I'd be looking for.
Wow, that's
off the board.
I mean, that's a hot take right there, buddy. That's
It
good.
is. I can see Milo playing him, especially early in the film. I'm not sure I can see him later, but I haven't seen enough of Milo to be able to say that. That's the thing. And I like This Is Us. I do watch This Is Us, and I see what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Very good. Cool. All right, Brian.
Yeah, Michael, that's a real tough one, but honestly, it was the first role I cast.
Me too.
Was this one, because I probably felt like this was going to be the most important. All the things that you guys have already touched on: quiet, controlled, methodical. And I had to project his arc being able to go throughout the whole movie. So you had already picked him for a different role, I believe, Docs, but I picked Ryan Gosling for this role.
Ooh.
I thought Ryan would be better suited for this role. I've especially from movies that I've seen, I like him in The Big Short and Drive and Blade Runner. He was in the sequel to Blade Runner, which I thought he did a fantastic job in. I just I don't like La La Land. I mean, I don't like him in musicals or anything, but the stuff that I see him in that's drama based, he definitely has the acting chops to kind of pull this off and to go the distance, I think. So
it's a good call, man.
Interesting. Yeah, I went off.
We both had him.
Yeah, we had him,
Yeah. You guys are probably going to shit all over this one, but I went with Oscar Isaac.
That was
the
my
guy
backup,
from Moon Knight, right? That Jock was just talking about.
I didn't even know he was in the Moonlight.
That's my backup.
That's the guy I picked. I saw him in Ex Machina, Inside Llewyn Davis, A Most Violent Year.
Mm-hmm.
He plays a similar character to Michael in that film, where he's sort of, even in Ex Machina, I can see him in the beginning of that film. He's sort of reserved and quiet. You don't know what he's capable of.
Yeah.
And physically, he's around the right age too.
Mm-hmm.
And who knows? He could have a big career ahead of him. But that's the first
guy. I think he does.
I'll tell you, in Moon Knight, I know you haven't watched the series. He plays a superhero, but a superhero who has identity disorder, so he has to play multiple personalities. He does a fantastic job.
He does a very good job.
Fantastic job.
I've never even heard of it, so that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's the first actor I cast in any of these 10 parts was Oscar Isaac.
For me as well. This is the one I casted first. I thought it's too important.
Yeah. Corleone, our final character here from The Godfather. Of course, he's the Don, the head of the family, patient, loyal, devout family man, but a shrewd businessman. You see that in the flashbacks, particularly with how he starts and works his way up to who he becomes. He has the ability to accomplish what he wants by any means necessary. That comes with the territory of being who he is. Played by Marlon Brando, an incredible performance, even though he doesn't have a lot of screen time for a lead actor. Marlon was only 48 years old when he was playing that role, and he was actually playing a guy that was near death, probably in his 75-ish range. That's what kind of range Brando had to play. Just an all-time performance, obviously, with the cotton in the cheeks and the petting the cat, and all that stuff adds to the character of Don Corleone. So
that speech at the beginning of the movie,
yeah,
where he's talking to the guy who's asking him to go hurt the people who hurt his daughter. I don't know about the guys who did that to his daughter, but even I was scared shitless after he got done talking to me. I was like, I'm scared. I don't even know about these guys.
It's a very good point, Brian. Who can be that intimidating to actually pull that kind of thing off, right?
And he's talking all that stuff, and in the meantime, he's petting real gently to the cat. Like he's an animal lover or whatever, and the kids are running around the room, and he's saying, "Oh, you gotta get the kids out of here," all that kind of stuff. Just a really interesting scene, and it sets up the next 10 hours over 3 films of what we're going to see with
we're going to watch
the family. Anyway, our final casting call. Who do we have as Vito, Doc?
So I only have 2 characters. I only have one name written beside it. One was Tom's, where I had Ryan Gosling, who Friday just mentioned there for Michael, which is a great call too. Mm-hmm. And Vito. I've only got one name written down for Vito. Who could play that intimidating, scare the hell out of you just by almost looking at you kind of guy and get away with it? And the age group and everything else that goes with it, man. And pull off, accents and everything else that goes with it. But I need somebody kind of intimidating, man. I went with Harvey Keitel.
Okay.
Nice.
All right. Didn't see that one. Okay.
I didn't have him down, but
right? So
pretty good call.
Yeah, but I think it's somebody that can actually play that character and be that intimidating on screen, and definitely be that forceful and that, compassionate at the same time, almost, even when he's talking to his kids and how this kids handle things. Sonny, keep your mouth shut and don't talk in front of people that way and stuff like that. I'll go eat some pasta and stuff like that. He could just do that kind of thing, I think, and be that kind of character. I'll take the Italian accent and it happens and stuff like that. And how Brando, nobody's going to replace Brando. So I'm just looking for somebody who can play that kind of character. And I think Harvey could actually pull it off and maybe do it pretty good, man. He's got a lot of those kind of characteristics from even Reservoir Dogs, where he's got compassion and a killer all at the same time. He's a pretty fantastic actor, Harvey Keitel, over a career, man. So Mean Streets On, I'm going to take him. He's a pretty solid professional, man.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting.
There you go.
I don't know how I didn't consider him for anything, but I bypassed him, which I'm shocked at because he's a big name.
Yeah.
Good one. All right, what do you have, Brian?
Okay, so I got down for Vito, highly calculating, but I think the big selling point for me, this was kind of a no-brainer for me. I mean, I didn't cast it first, but I didn't write down any other names after I wrote the name down. I went with Vincent D'Onofrio. And the reason I did, Full Metal Jacket, he's in the cell, but he's playing the Kingpin in the Marvel universe right now. He played it in Daredevil, and he's playing it in Hawkeye. And let me tell you, physically imposing, he personifies that. There's a scene in Daredevil where some guy has a slight against his girl that he took out on a date, and he takes the guy and just basically bashes the door completely open with this guy's head. So it's like, so I could see Vincent giving the speech that's at the beginning and having that quiet demeanor, and how he looked. That psycho look he has in Full Metal Jacket. I just figured he was an actor that had some chops that could pull this off. About the size, about the age, now I think he's around 65 to 67 years old. I think that I felt like he could do it. I just felt like he could.
I actually
a
thought
good
about
actor.
him. I thought about him early on, but I didn't think he was a big enough name for what I was looking for. But I love him as an actor, and he could definitely do it. There's no doubt he could do it. But I'm one of these name dropper guys. I went with a big name, a guy that can play anything, even if he doesn't look like the part. He's proven before he can play anything at any time. That's Daniel Day-Lewis. That's who I went with. If he can make you believe he's Abe Lincoln and My Left Foot and There Will
Oh
Be
my
Blood,
God.
which is a mean-spirited movie, I think he could do this role, and I really believe that. I think he's got all the characteristics. He would sink into it somehow, some way, even if he had to put on 40 pounds to look like Brando, and
He would do it.
he
Yeah,
would do it.
I'm an old man.
Yeah. What he did with Lincoln was just amazing to me. I'll never forget that.
Yeah,
I
that
don't think
transformation
saying
there.
Daniel Day-Lewis is a bad answer for anything you're going to say for anything in a movie. So it doesn't. I
You
mean, I
know,
don't think that's.
the Butcher and Gangs of New York.
Yeah.
I mean, this
Another
guy, probably the weakest movie he's been in, and it's not a bad movie at all, is The Boxer. It's actually a decent flick, but it's like compared to everything else he's done in his catalog, it's like, he's only competing against himself.
What's the other one? The Irish movie where he's playing
In the Name of the
Oh.
Father.
The Name of the Father.
Yeah,
That's a great movie.
That's a
The
good-
one where
that's a
he's
good
the
movie.
seamstress. Remember the seamstress movie?
yeah, Phantom Thread. I
Phantom
just watched
Thread,
that.
yeah.
I just watched that recently. Yeah, he had a really eerie quality about him in that movie. Yeah.
He's excellent in that movie, and that's not a movie that I think I would like, subject matter wise. But you put it on, and you buy everything that's going on, man.
Yeah.
So that's where I went with. I know it's a stretch, but I went Daniel Day-Lewis. The other guys that I considered, I thought Chris Walken would be too much of a ham, so I stayed away from him. Gary Oldman could do it too. I know he could, because he can do anything.
He can do anything.
And the other guy, the logical guy, was Andy Garcia, because he was handed the throne in Godfather 3, and I can see him at his age now playing that role. But I stayed away from that too, because I didn't want to be too obvious. But
Right.
I was going to take De Niro.
De
man.
Niro was another obvious one. Yeah, and he could
I think
do
he
it
could pull it
too.
off.
He could do it. Harvey could do it too.
Yeah, I thought he could.
Did you
And
ever
D'Onofrio.
did you guys, when you casted these, would you cast these in a vacuum, or did you cast them thinking could some of these alpha males exist in the same scene?
That's the way.
Because the actors in the original weren't all big when they made The Godfather.
Right.
That's right.
They became big
Yeah,
because of The Godfather.
that's true. Yeah. Yeah, I did a little of both. Oscar Isaac, I just went with the young
Mhm.
character, because Al Pacino at that time was unknown. So I tried to reach for somebody in that same vein.
I think the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the same sense. I had Milo as Michael, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
Ben Foster is not really, he's a great actor, and
He's a great
we
actor.
know him, but he's not a household name in one
He's
sense
not.
either.
And Jeremy
Giovanni
Renner.
Ribisi is another name I've got on my list. That's nobody's thinking about him being in The Godfather, and I think he'd probably pull it off, man.
I think every time I watch Jeremy Renner in The Town, which I watch a lot because I love the movie,
It's a great movie.
it always reminds me of a Sonny kind of persona, where he's a trigger finger. He's ready to fly off. He's having fights.
He's a good
with
actor,
that-
man.
and he's
He's a
really
very
good in
good
that
actor.
role. I was bouncing ideas off my wife last week, And she thought that Ben Affleck. I said, I don't like Ben Affleck as an actor well enough to cast him. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I just don't.
He never even
He
entered my
never
mind.
made my list.
No, in any character.
No,
This
I mean,
movie-
like for all the names that were mentioned and everything else that we talked about, I have Ed Norton written down. I have Rachel Weisz written down. I
Yeah.
have Ethan Hawke written down. I have Tom Hardy.
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
Paul Dano. I have all these names. I had Margot Robbie written down for gay, man.
I
at
had
one
her
point,
down too.
So
Yeah, Margot
you have
Robbie.
to list people that are serious about the craft.
Right.
You can't have guys that are just there collecting a paycheck.
Yep.
I even had Lady Gaga written down.
See, there's somebody I wouldn't cast, but I
Yeah.
understand. She
She probably could have pulled off Kay.
maybe.
I
I
had
ever
her
see her
down as,
anymore. Bradley Cooper's another guy that I couldn't find a spot for him.
he's a pretty good actor. Like this would be a perfect kind of role for him somewhere in there. There's a
Yeah.
role for Bradley Cooper.
I think he's a
Mhm.
great actor. I just didn't know what role would fit him best. And same with Jake Gyllenhaal. There were a lot of really good actors that I looked at for different roles, and they got
Well,
aged
you could cast Christian Bale as Sonny and then ask him to lose a bunch of weight and cast him for Fredo.
He can play both in the same
He can
movie.
play both.
That's
He
what
can
you
do it.
do. You
great
can do
idea.
it. There's another dude for sure.
He's a phenomenal actor. Oh my God.
Fantastic actor,
Great.
man.
So, well, that
That
was,
was fun.
that was an interesting experiment.
Some
Yeah.
hot takes in there, some weird ones, but some
Yeah,
good
some off
ones.
the
and-
wall. It's not too
Sure.
predictable. There's some names out there that shocked all of us, and others that fit like a glove. So that's what it's all about, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So anyway, we plan on doing some more of these maybe down the road. We'll see what kind of response we get. We'd like people to comment, like, subscribe to my channel, subscribe to Massey's Main Entertainment, please. Give us a thumbs up. That helps us in the algorithm. It puts us out there, allows more people to see our video, which is important because if we see 30 people watching it, we're most likely not going to do another one. So we'd like to see some response. Offer us your casting. What roles did we miss on? What did we hit on? All that kind of banter that we enjoy. We'll answer all the comments. So I'll leave a link to Brian's channel below. Check him out. And we hope to do more in the future. If not, check out our music stuff too. We're currently doing our perfect album from 1965 through 1994. We're in the mid 70s right now. We just finished 75. We're working our way towards 76, which happens to be a double album. So 24 songs, a lot to play with there. We appreciate all the response we can get. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And until then, we'll see you next time. Thank you very much for watching. Thanks, Doc. Thanks, Brian, for coming on. A lot of fun.
No problem.